My teaching philosophy has always revolved around a student-centered classroom. However, my students mostly come from very traditional educational backgrounds, where they are passive participants who mainly receive knowledge from their teachers. This makes their transition to a student-centered classroom difficult. In the past, this has resulted in behavioral problems in class and with students giving up because they feel that this style of learning is too difficult. Therefore, I decided that I needed to change how I approach my philosophy in my classroom. With the help of my reflective coach, I decided to focus my inquiry cycles on implementing a variety of strategies and approaches to help my students succeed and to scaffold their transition to a student-centered learning environment. I started by introducing my students to growth mindset and the idea that it's okay to make mistakes and fail, and that the teacher is not the only one with all of the knowledge. It was a perfect starting point because not only did it lead to amazing discussions, it helped guide the students out of their comfort zone. This was also a great transition to my next inquiry, which focused on students taking responsibility for their behavior and active participation through the use of participation coins. My next inquiry, Inquiry 3, built upon the foundations of Inquiries 1 and 2. My coach introduced me to the concept of colorful conversations as a discussion building strategy, and it worked wonderfully with my students. They felt empowered to have conversations with their peers because they had the support necessary to be successful. By Inquiry 4, something amazing had happened. My students were asking for more control of their learning and wanted to take on new challenges. Therefore, I decided to give my students the essential question that I myself was using for Inquiry 4 to see where that would lead. They came up with a fantastic idea of creating a school-wide news broadcast that would reflect their learning in a student-centered way. Since my students' confidence in their ability to have control over their own learning was growing, they approached me with the idea of implementing a debate unit. This fit perfectly with Inquiry 5 because I also wanted to focus on critical thinking through inquiry, problem solving, and reflection. Debate is not an easy undertaking, but my students did a fantastic job. Not only did they debate current issues in society, they did so in front of the principal and a local student who is actually a debate champion. Through the course of my induction program, I learned that students cannot simply be expected to adapt to my teaching philosophy. Instead, they need guidance and support. These days, my classroom looks nothing like it has in the past. It is busy and loud and chaotic, but it is a wonderful place where authentic learning is taking place. I couldn't be happier, and I feel like my 5 inquiry cycles have helped with this transformation. Even though I am very proud of the transformation that has taken place in my classroom, I decided to ask my principal, my department chair, and my students for their feedback regarding the strategies and approaches that I implemented in my classroom during my induction. Here is what they had to say.
Alice does a great job at getting students really involved. She's always done project-based learning, and there's always been a component of students getting some choice in what they do, finding some social justice or other issue that they're passionate about to do. This year, though, she changed it a little bit, but it was largely because some students came to her with some ideas about doing a Pacific Academy news piece. And so Ms. Kennedy had a green screen, some cameras. Actually, the kids are using their own phones as cameras and some other equipment, and they're doing their own news segment. And that's actually fascinating to watch because they are all English language learners, but they take complete ownership of it. They have roles, a producer, an editor, the news reporters, the person who does the Culture Corner news piece, and so they all have different responsibilities. They answer to each other, they're accountable to one another, and they really have a vested interest in it. So they interviewed me for a segment, and just watching them do everything with very little direction from Ms. Kennedy because they knew what they wanted to do, and they were problem solving on their own, disagreeing in appropriate ways about how to figure something out, and it was just a lot of fun to watch. And so they're totally involved in it, and feel super proud about it.
So over the course of the semester, or actually the school year, I've noticed the scaffolded instruction that Alice has provided for her students. At the beginning of the term, she had her students in cluster groups, and she also had sentence frames that would model the discussion. And then over time, she removed the support, and the students began to have more natural discussions. And I thought that was really impressive.
The growth mindset part in the ELD class is my most unforgettable part because it helps me in a lot of parts, like when I'm doing homework, when I'm playing piano, even when I'm playing games. And the sentence I remember the most is never give up.
At the beginning of the ELD class, we always talked about growth mindset, and it gave me the motivation of the life. So it was very helpful I think it was very helpful for us.
The producer job make me improve my leadership.
Debate helped me my listening skill a lot, and it is very exciting than what I thought.
The news broadcast project really built up my fast thinking skills.
Like big responsibility, but it's just big responsibility. You can after you finish, you can be worked for it.
News broadcast is one project I did very let me very exciting and let me very unforgettable project.
The EOD assignment, debate, and news broadcast make me improve my English skills.
It is very new feeling to cooperating with my friends.
This is a new experience for me. Thank you for bringing us to this new place we never see before.
When I began Induction, my overarching long-term goal was to create a learning environment where students felt welcomed and felt comfortable participating in the learning process. I imagined a classroom that was rigorous, but where students felt at ease making mistakes and where they understood the rationale for what they were studying. My goal was to have a classroom where all students, not just the highly motivated or the high-achieving students, had the potential to be successful. I honestly feel that I have been successful in achieving my overarching long-term goals. My students are engaged, confident, are learning from their mistakes, and are each successful in their own way. However, I realize that I will need to continue to adapt the strategies and approaches I implemented to meet the needs of future students. When comparing my initial CSTP assessment to my final assessment, I was surprised to see that I had grown considerably in CSTP 6, developing as a professional educator. While this was not a direct focus of any of my inquiries, I believe that the areas that I did focus on indirectly helped me to grow in this area because my inquiries pushed me to collaborate with colleagues and to better support student learning. Beyond Induction, I would like to continue to develop my toolkit of strategies and approaches that help to give my students a voice in my classroom. Also, I would like to become a certified Google educator. I use Google a lot in my classroom. However, I feel that by becoming certified, it will help me to take full advantage of everything it has to offer in order to meet the needs of my students. Also, I would like to enroll in a national board certification program so that I may continue to develop as an educator.